Alrighty, everybody, it has started recording and it does have a transcript on the side, but you're welcome to exit out of it if you'd like. If not, then it does read out what you're saying. All right, so we are group 3, and this is social work. Forgot the number. 53, right, guys? 5316?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. And today we're going to be doing a safety plan for Lorena Ramirez. She is 28 years old. She lives in San Antonio, Texas, and she has one child that is 6 years old. And the first part, 1 and 2, is going to be covered by Emily Clark.
Hello, I'm Emily. So step 1 through 2 is what I'm going to go over. So step 1 is safety during a violent incident. So victims cannot always avoid violent incidences. To increase the safety of them, victims may use a variety of strategies. So here are some of the strategies. So if you do decide to leave, how would you leave safely, Ophelia?
I would consider my options if contacting a close family member or a friend would be my best option if I cannot leave on my own, because I do have a vehicle of my own. But if that is not accessible, then I would have to reach out.
So another strategy would be to leave your purse or keys in a spot so that you are ready to take them whenever you're ready to go, whether that be by the door or in a secret spot that you're that's easily accessible for you to leave and take them. Make sure to have a list of some people that you can get in contact with who would be able to call the police if they hear anything suspicious from your home, like your neighbor, your close neighbor, or maybe someone that would be in the same vicinity of you if they hear something from your home that may seem like you're in danger. Try and teach your children to use the telephone and contact the police or the fire department. If for whatever reason you are not able to, and your child is there, your child will be able to do that for you. A great strategy would to be able to use a code word with your children or family so that they can call for help and they get the hint, that you're in danger and you're not in a good spot. So Ophelia, if you were to have to leave your house, where would you go? Like to a friend's house or family member or next door neighbor?
I'm not familiar with my neighbors. I've only been here for about 6 months. But I would actually reach out to a sibling that I have close by.
Great. So also teaching your child that as well, to know that where they would go if they were there by themselves, where a safe spot would be able to go if that were to happen. So whenever an argument is breaking out, pick specific, don't pick where you're going to have an argument, but try and move yourself into a area in the house where you're able to leave easily, whether that's by an outside door or by a window that you can open and be able to get out. So try and avoid bathrooms, garages, kitchens, anywhere near there's going to be weapons. So try your best to be by an outside door so that you're able to leave. Use your judgment and intuition. So if a situation is getting very serious, you can just give your partner what they are wanting to just calm them down a little bit and then protect yourself. So either getting you out of that situation or just keeping you in a safe spot in the home so that you would be able to stay safe and know that you're in the clear.
I do have a question. My kitchen actually has access to a back door. Would I still not be able to go and utilize the kitchen as a safety point because there weapons like knives and stuff in a kitchen, or could I still use that as a second option to have an exit?
I think having that as a second option would be great. I don't think you should have that as the first option because there would be like knives and weapons in the kitchen area. So try and maybe stay by the front door, or if you know a window, you can open up a window, be close to there.
Okay.
I know there's also some self-defenses classes that you could also take. You can take them maybe within a police department near you. Some community centers allow some classes like that to be conducted, and even some local colleges near you that you'd be able to take those classes at, just for your safety. If anything does have to happen like that and it gets physical, you would have some background on it. So you can notify and make sure that the law enforcement agencies know the exact location of your home. So some houses could be pushed back in a weird area where it's not as easy to get to. So maybe making your mailbox something unique, that has something unique on the mailbox, so that they at least know that they are in the correct area of where your home is, and they are on the right track, and from there they can find you and find the home.
Okay.
So that is for step 1. So step 2 is safety when preparing to leave. So victims frequently leave the residence that they share with their partner. So leaving must be done very careful to increase the safety of it. So batterers often strike back when they believe that victims are going to leave the relationship. So there's some strategies that I wanted to talk to you about that. So Ophelia, is there a specific person that you think that you would be able to leave money with, or maybe an extra set of keys with? I know you said a sibling nearby. Would you trust them to leave like an extra set of keys just in case?
That would actually be hard for me because I don't have an extra set of keys. They actually went missing. But as far as like funding, I know my sibling is really good at helping me in situations that are considered like an emergency and stuff like that. So like I said, if my car is not accessible, I just call my sister and have like a game plan for that.
That's good. So also keeping important documents that you would like safe and in a location that you know isn't going to get damaged with, whether that's inside of a safe or inside somewhere in your closet or in a room or whatever. So actually sometimes your partner could get the sense that, why are you taking official documents? So you might want to like take a copy of them, or maybe a picture, so that you have them still, even if you aren't able to get the original documents, and take those and keep them in a safe place that that won't get lost or damaged or anything like that. Another suggestion is to open a separate savings or checkings account under your name, just to increase your independency. Maybe having a credit card in your name to establish some credit for yourself, so when you are on your own independently, that you're not just left with nothing. You will have something to work on. So just in case of emergency situations. So you can also locate all the papers regarding insurance coverage on, your residence, like your home or your cars, also your family's health that may get passed down to you, just so you can understand them better. And then you could also look into like retirement plans. If you have a job, look into that to see what options are there for you. You can make a inventory of all the assets and liabilities that you have separately and that you have together joint with your partner, seeing what you can like not work on anymore and be on your own so that you can establish that by yourself. Creating a separate post office box so that whenever you are ready to be independent and on your own, you could start forwarding your mail to your own box so that they are no longer tied with you, and just mail in general. Figuring out your own transportation. So I know I heard you said you have a car, but is that your own car or is that a car that is joint with your partner?
No, it's solely mine.
Okay, that's good. So also knowing the local domestic violence program hotline number in your area to see if there's any shelters that, if in case of an emergency, you're able to go to a shelter and calling a number. Keeping any information about crisis intervention agencies, hotline shelters, counseling, anything like that, knowing their number so that you can get in contact with them and that you're able to move on from there. A strategy that I would strongly suggest is to change your phone numbers one or more times, because I think just getting you out of that situation, whenever you are ready to leave, it'll just be easier. You won't have any contact with them. You wouldn't have to deal with anything like that, like them having to call you or text you or anything like that. Changing that also with your credit card, not having those numbers connected, so that they would have no chance in contacting you afterwards. So again, I heard that you would be able to be in contact with your sister who's close to you. So just to, check in with her, just make sure that you would be able to stay there with her in a safe area. If you need money or if you just need a place to stay or anything like that, that you and your child would be in a safe area. If you have any pets or animals in your care, you would be able to make a plan for them, whether you would be keeping them or if you would have to give them away, making sure that they go to a safe area and not in a bad situation, whether they'd be foster care or still in your possession, just out of that situation.
Mhm.
Is being very careful with keeping a paper trail in the documentations of the abuse in the relationships, whether that is taking pictures of like injuries or collecting written observations from medical professionals to seek from healthcare, and then also talking like with your sister nearby, just letting her know like updates on how things are going, just so that she is also aware of them, and keeping that trail so that you are able to prove, this happened at this time, here's proof, here's this, and whatnot. So then even if you aren't going to report it, if you are going to report it, you have that trail.
I do apologize. Someone is knocking on my door. Can I take a minute? I do apologize.
so that was all for my two sections, the first and second of the different steps. Now Lorena is going to talk to you and go forth with the following steps, and I will be leaving right now. It was nice meeting you, Ophelia.
Nice meeting you as well.
Hi, Ophelia. My name is Lorena, and I will be helping you with steps 3 and 4. So step 3 is safety in your own residence. If your partner leaves you, or if your partner leaves or you have to seek a new location, you may find yourself alone with different safety concerns. So there are many things you can do to increase safety at home. Some safety measures you can use include the following that I will be asking you or mentioning to you. So changing the locks on your doors and windows, is this something you'd be able to do as soon as possible if you were to have to leave or if your partner were to have to leave?
That would honestly, I would have to get in contact with the landlord and see if I can do that. Because usually things like that go through my landlord.
So it is also useful to know local law enforcement can perform a security check if you are able to change locks or anything like that. So you can you replace any wooden doors? I know you said you have to run that by the landlord. Do you think that's something you'd be able to do, replacing them with steel or metal doors?
Again, I wouldn't have a definitive answer. I would have to go through that with the landlord. But I'm pretty sure, depending on the situation, he wouldn't say no.
Okay. And then, would you be able to install any type of security system, such as additional locks, even just window bars to wedge against doors and windows? Obviously, with the landlord situation, I don't know if an electronic system would be possible, but do you think you could do anything of that sort?
I know the one thing I can do. I can do additional locks, and I can do like security cameras. When I move out, I just have to take those with me, but I know that those are doable.
And then, are you on the second floor, third floor, or?
It's a one-story house. I'm in a house.
Okay. So can you install smoke detectors and purchase fire extinguishers to have throughout the house or anything like that?
Yes, there is a fire extinguisher provided by my landlord, and we have smoke alarms or smoke detectors.
And then are you able to install any sort of outside lighting system, preferably with motion detectors, just so they will light up if anybody is close to your house?
I don't have any motion detectors, but I'm pretty sure again, depending on the situation, I would have to run through that with my landlord. But we do have porch lights, and I have a garage in the back, and that has a light that stays on in the evenings. So in the vicinity, it's well lit, my house.
Okay. So would you be able to look into changing the ignition or door locks on any vehicles you own? Because I think you mentioned that it was only your car, not your partner's as well, correct?
Yes.
So would you be able to maybe look into changing the ignition or the door locks, anything like that on the car?
Honestly, that would cost, and in a situation, an emergency situation, I would rather be without my car if it's gonna come down to that.
Really understand. So can you make use of a cell phone to increase safety when you're traveling, whether it just be to and from work, to the grocery store? Like, are you able to have your cell phone with you at all times?
Yes.
And then, And that even goes for just walking outside around your home, even if you're just getting the mail, getting something from your car, or even answering the door. It's important that you do keep that with you at all times because you never know what may happen.
Absolutely.
Are you able to use voicemail to screen your calls?
Like visual voicemail?
Yes.
Yes, I have that for my phone and my daughter's phone.
And then I do recommend that you use a tape recorder or phone recording equipment just to record any communication from your batterer. You can also make use of the caller ID service offered by some phone companies in case they call from an unknown number or anything like that.
So would screen recording also pick up audio?
Yes. So in that case, you would just have to screen record the call, and I believe it will pick it up. So would you seek legal consultation in receiving information regarding options in using the legal system to maintain safety in your residence? These measures can include seeking a protective order if necessary and obtaining criminal trespass order. So we just need to know that you know that these services are available to you, that you can get a protective order or anything of the sort. And then do you have at least or around 3 people that you can inform that your partner no longer resides with you if the incident occurs? So you can let them know to call the police if your partner is seen near their house.
Locally, like in my town, or could it be if they're not in the same town as me? How would that work? Because I only have my sister that lives in the same city as me. And I have friends that live in a city over.
Preferably in the same city, but if they're in the city over, that's also acceptable too. Just as many people as you can kind of let know. So do you have 3 people? I know you mentioned your sister.
I do also have my employer who we have like a friendship outside of work as well. So I have my employer and then I have a coworker that I'm really close to. So yes.
And those are both in the city over, correct?
Yes. Well, my employer's in the same city as me, but I do have a childhood friend and a coworker that's in the city over because we work from home.
Okay. And that is the end of step 3. So for step 4 is safety with a protective order. So if you were to get a protective order, where would you keep this? It is best to keep one with you at all times, as well as a copy in your home, at work, and in your vehicle. So when it's with you, where would you keep it?
Well, I have a file binder type of thing. It's the fancy little zippered one. I keep it actually in a shelf in my daughter's room, so it is close by.
Okay. And then, like I said, just it is best to keep copies. Like you already have one at home, so maybe at work, in your desk, or in your vehicle, in the glove compartment, anything like that. Mm-hmm. You would need to give copies of your protective order to police departments where you work, where you visit family and friends, and where you live. Are you able to make sure that this is getting taken care of? Just make sure your protective orders are in the registry.
Like to keep updated?
Yes. Like if you were to get a protective order, say you stay with a friend in another city that your partner may know about, it is probably best to send or to give that protective order a copy to the police department in that city, to be safe. And then for further safety, if you often visit other countries, you may file your protective order with law enforcement in those areas. So do you have any countries that you would probably be submitting copies to?
No.
And then you need to have people to supply a copy of the protective order to as well. So I know you mentioned your sister and employer and coworker would know of the protective order. So would you also be providing them with a copy of this as well?
I don't logically, like in my mind, I feel like I wouldn't have to give it to the coworker, but to my employer, yes, and my sister, yes, because work and home situation, yes.
Okay. And then if your partner does happen to destroy your protective order, you can get a copy from the courthouse. And you can also report any violation of the protective order to the police or contact your attorney as well. If the police, for any reason, do not help at a time of crisis, you can contact your advocate or anyone who helped handle your case, and they can file a complaint with the chief of police department. And then you can contact the supervising officer of law enforcement agency that failed to respond to whatever the crisis was at this time. Also, charge your partner with a violation of the protective order. And you can always call a domestic violence advocate or county victim assistance coordinator to help with any of this as well. So that is it for step 4. And next, Jessica will be helping you with step 5 and 6. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey there, Ophelia. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Are you feeling good about some of the answers that you've been going over?
Yes, the information that I'm receiving is actually very helpful. A lot of the things I'm noticing that I kind of already subconsciously do, with the keeping the copies and independence with bank accounts and just like I thought my everyday normal things, that's how it came off to me, but apparently it's like a safety measure.
It is.
So that is just mind blowing to me because I didn't know that I was doing all that.
That's good. Okay, so these next few steps, I'm going to go over step 5 and 6 with you. 5 has a little bit to do with work and public places. So step 5 includes ideas about how to feel safe and secure with people that you feel safe enough to trust. You have to think about this a little bit, make sure that you do trust them. You mentioned your sister and a work friend and an employer, so that would be good. And it may also be necessary to think about the public places that you visit. So this step is going to help you think a little bit more about that. So you said you can inform your boss?
Yes. Due to like the work from home situation, I feel like that would be a priority to make sure that they know the situation.
And since you work from home, there's probably not a security supervisor that you could let them know. Do they offer any security there?
No, it's just literally manager HR, and it's all email.
Is there anyone else that you trust? You mentioned your coworker.
So the coworker, we are friends, but I'm not on that level where I would disclose personal situations to. So that I don't think I'd have that as an option. But like I said, I do have my sister, and for her, I tell her everything.
Of course. Okay, so this one, so we do have your boss that you'll let them know. You mentioned the HR. Would you let them know about the situation?
I would have to, because if it impacts my work situation, because if there is an emergency or a dangerous situation happening in my home, and it affects obviously my workplace because I work from home, then I would have to let them know. It's not an issue of if I want to, and I have to.
I understand, and that actually provides you with some safety. That way they're aware of the situation. The next question is asking about screening your phone calls. So this seems more typical of like somebody who would be in office and they answer the phone and, you know, screen the calls. But they're at work. Do they record you on the phone?
Yes. So even when we're not on calls, there's like a 20-second period when we hang up that they're still recording.
Because I'm not sure if maybe the batterer might call you there. So if they do call you somehow get a hold of you, then that phone call would be recorded.
Yes, but there's
So
no
it's almost automatic.
They would get me as the representative. I'm implying like if a situation happened at home, and let's say an argument ensues out of nowhere, and happens right after I hang up on a caller, there's that 20-second window where they would hear what's going on.
Okay, and that could be helpful. And since you're working at home, this next question asks about you leaving work. So leaving work would mean just leaving your home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get into that one a little bit later. This next one. And this next one is asking about departing and leaving from work. Possibly work schedules. Is there anything that would make you feel safer if you changed your work schedule?
It's really hard to change my schedule because it's either you work from 8:30 to 4:30 or 9:30 to 6:30. Like it's hard to change that schedule.
Okay. All right. And you did mention you have the cellular phone.
Yes.
So that's a yes.
I have an extra one for emergencies. Like if anything happens to my phone, I have another one.
Okay, so the next question.
Accident.
The extra phone?
Yeah, it happened purely by accident.
I think it's a very good idea, especially if something happens to the other one. The next one is going to be kind of about you traveling around. Mm-hmm. So if you're out driving, is there something that you feel you could do to make you feel safe? If you're maybe feeling like you're being followed, or if you feel like you do see them and they're following you, how do you feel you could stay safe?
That's kind of hard because I do get anxious. And if that were to happen, but I guess I would have someone on the phone with me in case anything happened. And if they overhear a dangerous situation, that would either allow them to call 911 on my behalf, or, you know, I could use the Google setting to call 911 for me.
And if you were going to call somebody, who would you call first?
I would honestly call my sister.
And if your sister didn't answer, who would be the next call?
I'd probably call her husband.
Husband. Sister. That's good, because if you're out there in the moment and you're thinking, who do I call? Oh my gosh, my sister didn't answer. Who should I call next? It's good to have that kind of thought after. Is there anyone else you would call after the husband? Or would you call 911?
If I couldn't reach anyone that, you know, I felt comfortable and safe calling, then yeah, I would call 911.
Now, if you realize that you are being followed and you make it to thinking about the routes that you usually take, do you know where the police office is? I'm sorry, the police station is?
Yes, it's a block over from where I live.
So then if you do feel like you were being followed, you could get to the police station.
Yes.
And if you have a phone, you can also call them ahead and let them know that you're going. It can be 911, or we can get you the number of the local office, because sometimes they have 911, and then they also have a phone number for the actual police station.
I do have a question.
Yes.
If I was already en route to my sister's and I didn't realize that I was being followed, and then like maybe I'm about 20 minutes away from her house and I realize that I am being followed by said person, um, I would not, in my situation, I would not feel comfortable stopping at her house. So would I be able to, like, what kind of game plan would I be able to do from there? Because I wouldn't want to endanger her house because she has kids. Because there's no way knowing how my partner would react.
Yeah. Well, we can think about that a little bit more. What do you feel would be safe? Would it be if you're driving past it? Well, does he already know where the sister lives?
Yes, he's been there a couple of times.
So would you feel safe if you called the police or called your sister right away? What kind of plan do you think you would want to take if this happened?
And that's hard because I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't want to endanger her house.
Mhm.
But that would be my safe place. I know that she lives by a Walmart, so I would be able to probably go to the Walmart, maybe call the police, or maybe talk to an associate there and like just explain the situation, just so that way I know that I'm letting someone know and I feel safe where I'm at, because there's going to be like a lot of people and I don't think anyone would want to, bring that attention to themselves.
I think that's a good idea. So if you are followed to your sister's house, you'll go to the Walmart and let an employee know. Does that feel good?
Yeah.
Do you ever use public transportation?
Well, no, because like I have my vehicle, so I'm able to use my vehicle.
Okay.
But
That's okay.
I guess in a
Mhm.
case where I can't use my vehicle, I Uber or the Via Bus transportation there would have to.
If you were to use Uber or the bus, how could you feel a bit safer? What would feel safe about using the bus?
Well, there would be people, like a bunch of people on the bus.
So if you're being possibly followed, you could let the bus driver know?
Mm,
Would that
yeah.
feel comfortable? Or would it feel...
Well, I don't know if I'd let the bus driver know, but I would just use it to just get alternate routes and kind of just lose him like that. But I would
probably
definitely call the cops and let them know that
Yes.
I'm hopping on bus to bus just to avoid.
Yes, so it can be kind of like the plan when you're driving from home. Call your sister, call the husband, call the police.
Mhm.
Now, would you feel comfortable using different grocery stores and shopping centers than you're used to? Is there a different one that you're willing to go to instead of the usual ones?
Yeah.
How about a bank? Would you consider going to a different bank, maybe at different hours than you're used to, or do you do mostly online like banking?
I do mostly online banking.
So another piece of this is, would you be willing to contact your bank and let them know that you're separated from your partner and that they should not allow him any access?
We don't
Him or
have
her.
joint accounts, so that wouldn't be an issue. He wouldn't have access to my account regardless.
Okay, so then I'll go ahead and mark that one off. So that would be the same for any credit cards.
Mhm.
Alrighty. Okay, so the last two questions, they're gonna help you think about how to reach out to family. So we mentioned a code word earlier, but would you like to set up a code word here in the safety plan that you could let your family know of? Maybe a code sentence is easier.
I've never thought of one. I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is like I would just flat out tell them, hey, this is the situation, and I would like mass send the message. I never thought about using a code.
So does that feel, so you feel you would just send out a direct text of what's happening or a call? So not really a code word. Now, this message is going to be very direct in telling them, call the police. This is where I'm at. This is what's happening.
Yes.
Call the police, including your location. With the last few things we talked about, is there anything else that you feel that you would want to do or can't do for the safety while you're traveling or out in public?
Give me one moment.
Okay. I wish I knew how to pause this, but I'm not sure how.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Plug in my laptop. The last thing we were thinking is we're kind of thinking about what else that might help you feel safe while you're out in public.
Because I have my daughter, that's what worries me the most. Like, she is 6, and I know that she's understanding things a little more. And it's kind of hard for me to like put her in a situation where she's gonna understand this is not safe for her nor for me. Because it's not like I can say, oh, we're just gonna go to Thea's house for a while or for a duration, like for a period of time, but everything's okay. Because she's gonna know that things are not okay.
That's true. I think some of the other questions are probably going to direct that a little bit more later on in the interview. And then I think that we could probably help set you up with some counseling. That way we can help try to figure out a way you can communicate with her. Possibly if you want to get her any counseling too, that can also help to try to help see if we can find any grounds where she'll feel safe and comfortable. Something that will help you guys connect in a way that you feel she's safe and that she feels safe too. But that's feel good?
Yeah.
So I'm also going to be helping you with step 6, and this offers some awareness about the use of drugs or alcohol, because there are some legal aspects to consider, especially since you have your 6-year-old daughter. But it's the most important thing to know is that using drugs or alcohol can reduce your awareness and your ability to act if something happens, right? So the next few questions will kind of help you think about how to be safer in situations that involve drugs and alcohol. Now, if you are going to use, do you use, I'm not sure whether to ask you directly or if you just kind of want to go through it, because it does ask if you're going to use, is there a safe place that you feel safe using drugs and alcohol?
I don't use drugs, but I am a social drinker.
Mhm.
I only drink like at family events and, or like if I go with a friend to a bar. Um, those are the only situations that I've ever drank.
Okay. So if you do go out to the bar or drink socially, can you go with people that you feel safe with, that understand the risk of violence and are committed to keeping you safe?
I want to say yes, but I've never been in that situation. I would hope so, and all sincerity, I would hope so. But I don't drink to the point where I'm gonna not feel like I'm not in control.
So if it does come up, would you be willing to at least express that to who you're going with?
Yes, absolutely.
Are there any other ideas that you might have that will keep you safe? I know you mentioned that you try to stay in control, so that's a good idea too, to watch how much you're drinking. So that's a good idea. So you would say that you stay aware?
Yeah.
Um, Now, another thing is, the safety plan is also while you're with your partner, but it also helps you think about what's happening after, right? So this question is thinking in the sense that you haven't left yet. So if your partner is using while you're still with the partner, what could you do to keep you safe?
Um, well, I know that he drinks, and if he's with certain people in his family, that he does over drink, where he gets to the point where he's not in control. Um, what I do, and it's worked so far to where it's kind of like I baby him, and not baby him as in enabling him, but I kind of wind him down, mother him to kind of wean him off of his drinking and kind of put him to bed.
So it kind of goes what Emily talked about earlier. Emily was talking about giving them what they want in the moment. That way it doesn't feel like you're gonna be attacked or battered.
Yeah.
And it could also go with what she mentioned about a safe place in your home. Where would you go in your house if he did get overly and you weren't able to give him what he needed to calm down? Is there a
Like
room that you feel safe
if he
in?
were to act out, what would I do?
Yes,
Um,
I think it
I
might
would
go
stay
back
in
to
my
that.
daughter's room.
So then, when your partner's using, if he gets overly drunk, then you will try to calm him down, and then you might stay in your daughter's room if you're unable to.
Well, regardless if I'm able to or not, I'd stay in my daughter's room.
That's good. That way you stay and feel safer in there.
Mhm.
Are there any other thoughts that you have on how to stay safe if anybody's using?
Mm.
It might go back to a lot of the first part of your safety plan where you know how to get out of a violent situation. So it could be that you look back at part one if something like this happens.
I would just do the same thing. Contact my sister, because honestly, she would be the only place that I would go or can go to, since she is the closest.
That's good. Now we can talk a little bit in this section about your daughter. If there is usage with yourself or with your partner, how could you safeguard your child in that time, during that time?
Well, because of the fact that I do always have my daughter around me, I'm very careful about how much I drink. So I usually don't drink a lot. And if I do, she understands that it's not for her. And she also understands that if he overdrinks, that she's not around that situation. So we usually keep her, well, I usually keep her either in the living room or her room, and TV, phone, tablet, just things that occupy her time. And she's usually okay with that. It's all basically distracting her from what's going on.
Okay, so, and I think that would keep her safe because she would kind of be away from anything and everything that's happening. Are there any other thoughts?
Well, honestly, I don't feel like that would be like the best thing to do, because it's not that I'm sheltering her. I feel like distracting her it's not always going to work.
Do you want to think about something that you could do further than this? And we can write it down on your safety plan?
Like, what other options would I have? And like, if she is around that situation, doesn't want to be on her tablet, doesn't want to be on her phone, TV doesn't work, like what are my options?
Would you consider calling your sister to pick her up? Or to pick you both up?
If we weren't at home, I would just drive home. But if we are at home, I think I would just stay in the room with her. But other than that, I don't know if I could call my sister, because like, in my mind, I feel like that's an inconvenience. And I know that we're talking about safety and in case things get out of hand, but it doesn't process to me that it is an emergency. So it's just that I would just not think about calling her in that moment, unless it is like an active emergency where I'm being attacked or she's being attacked, then I would call.
Okay, and I think that's fair. I think that it's hard to see it getting that far out of hand, but if it ever does, I think it's very good that you're willing to call. So we can write that down, that you are willing to if it feels like it's getting out of hand. Well, thank you so much. Let me see. I need to check something. Give me one moment. Okay, I believe that is it for my part. Thank you so much for allowing me to help you today. I know that the questions are not easy, but I think you did a great job trying to figure out some things here. Next, Chelette is going to be going over step 7 and 8 with you.
Thank you.
Step 7 deals with the experience of being battered and verbally degraded by a partner is exhausting and emotionally draining. The process of building a new life for yourself takes much courage and a lot of energy. To conserve your emotional energy and your resources and to avoid hard emotional times, here are some things that you can do. If you're feeling down and ready to return to a potentially abusive situation, you can call your sister, play with your daughter, cook, visit your sister, take a weekend getaway to see a friend or family member that lives in the town close by. Are these some things that you would consider doing?
Yes.
When you must communicate with your partner, you can do so by telephone or email, or you can do so in a public place with other people that you trust to protect or intervene on your behalf.
Mhm.
You can, is that possible for you? Are you able to do that?
To have like a mediator? Yes.
Yeah, have like a third party, a middleman, if you're not comfortable talking to them alone.
Yes, absolutely.
And you can try to use I can statements with yourself and to be assertive with others, such as I can do this, I'm in control of me, I got this.
Hmm.
You can also use I can statements when someone is trying to control or abuse you, such as I can handle this. I do not have to accept this. You can either say it out loud or you can say it to yourself. And is there a favorite song or poem or book you like to read to help feel you empowered, to help you feel empowered?
Yes.
Okay. So when you feel the need or when you start feeling not so strong, you can listen to a song or read a book that helps you feel empowered. As a resource of support for you, you can call your sister, and you also said you have an employer that you have a friendship with outside of work, correct?
Yes.
So they can be possible resources of support for you. Other things that you can do to help you feel stronger are you can exercise, take up a sport such as roller skating, or you can participate in a self-defense class to improve your self-esteem and your confidence in interacting with others. These some things that you would be interested in or consider doing?
Yeah. Kind of like support groups and things like that.
Yes. And in San Antonio, there, there are a couple national family violence prevention groups. There's the Family Violence Prevention Center in San Antonio, or you can text the word START to 88788, and that's a national domestic abuse, domestic violence help hotline. And they're available 24/7. So anytime you feel the need to just talk and you don't want to bother anyone or you don't want to feel like you're inconveniencing anyone, that that line is available 24/7. And you can to not isolate yourself so that you don't feel isolated. Would you be interested in activities outside of home or work, or you can go back to school to or build on your education?
I've taken building my education as a step because I'm honestly a homebody. I'm not used to being very social.
Totally understand. Okay. And now we'll discuss safety measures in protecting your child. When you choose to leave your relationship with a batterer, there may be several safety concerns regarding his access to your child. Okay. Batterers often use children as a way to try to continue controlling or to gain access to you.
Mm-hmm.
So some safety measures to consider would be consulting with an attorney to legally establish clear boundaries in terms of custody and visitation rights of your child. Um, you should give, or you can, I don't say you should, you can give a copy of the protective order to your children's school, daycare, babysitter, if they're in an after-school program, or or instruct these individuals how to use this order to protect your children, letting them know, if your significant other or if her father comes and he's not supposed to pick her up, let them know. Do not engage him, but to call the sheriff or the police. So,
and actually mentioning that her school does actually require any legal documents that we may have, like protective orders, custody order. They require those documents.
sorry, I'm new to San Antonio also, so some of these things are new. At 6 years old, your daughter does have you said she has a phone too, correct?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry. You said your daughter is 6 years old, but she has access to a cell phone also,
Yes.
correct? Okay. Have you taught her how to use the phone to like make a collect call to you or to call someone
Yes.
if you okay. And since you said the school has to have all legal documentation, do they also have a record and they know who can and cannot pick her up from school?
Mm-hmm.
And I know you said you're not big on the code word thing. You're more of a I'm just gonna call or tell directly what's happening.
Yeah.
But I was thinking on that, and I don't know if you know who Coco Melon is. Do you know who Coco Melon is?
Then if I know, I'm sorry, I can't really hear you.
Do you know who Coco Melon is or what Coco Melon is?
Yes, I do.
I was thinking when you said that you're not really familiar and so that you don't have like a world in your business, just a random word that's familiar with your children, because my nephew he loves Coco Melon. I can't stand Coco Melon. But if I was to randomly start talking or I just say the word Coco Melon, people would know, okay, something's going on because she don't even like Coco Melon. So that would be something to consider for a code word, like saying a word that pertains to nothing that's going on or something that you're not really into, but your daughter is. Like that seems to be the thing right now. Like,
I mean, oh, she went away.
wait a second.
Oh.
Somebody tried to call me. I'm sorry. Hold on.
I was going to say that there is a phrase that I wanted to say, but it sounded ridiculous because it's just something that me and my sister say. I don't know if you guys are familiar with King of the Hill, where Bobby Hill is taking a self-defense class, and he's like, "That's my purse. I don't know you." I was thinking about using that, but like it sounds ridiculous. But I guess you make a point that it can be anything that just doesn't have anything to do with the situation.
But it would be a trigger for your sister to know, okay, my sister's in trouble, something's going on.
Yeah.
That's like the
main
it wouldn't
thing alert. Yeah. It wouldn't alert my partner. It would just let her know. Okay. Then I guess I would use that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Oh.
Okay, but that was just my thought on code words because I am a WWE junkie. And that's my code word. I'll say my favorite wrestler, or I'll say my least liked wrestler. If I say his name, then people know something is going on because I don't talk about that wrestler. And I also don't like Coco Melon. So if a person hears that, then they know, okay, they need to check further into something that's going on. So that was just my thought on helping you come up with like a code word so that you don't have to give a long, drawn out explanation as to what's going on. You could use that with your sister, the King of the Hill phrase.
And I appreciate that because I kind of felt silly mentioning it. That's why I didn't bring it up. But you make a point, and I appreciate that.
Would you like me to add it to the code word?
Yes.
Okay, so King of the Hill phrase.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. See, I apologize for my technical difficulties. My daughter was driving and she turned everything off. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. Okay. And something else for your daughter's benefit, you can enroll her in self-defense classes that are appropriate for them, or an awareness of program that, like you said, you don't necessarily want to bother anybody if you're at home and things take a turn, but they have awareness classes where she would be aware, or it would make her notice if there was a shift in how mommy's acting or how mommy's doing things, so that she would know to go in her room or something and wait for you to come in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something else to consider. I wasn't aware of that either until I started looking into various programs around here, but they actually have that in San Antonio. That's something they do. And if the visitor or the abuser is allowed to visit with your children and you don't want them coming to your house, you can arrange to have your child brought to them, or you can arrange for them to be seen again with a third party. Like if you're not comfortable with your child going to his house or one of his family members' houses, you can request to have them visit or him visit with your child in a neutral place like a park or a restaurant, somewhere public with a neutral third party, if you're not comfortable with them coming to your house to pick your daughter up or to come see her or any of that. That's something that's available too. It's a program called Kids Connection or Kids Exchange, if you're interested in that.
I most definitely am. Thank you for that information.
And there is also, you can use the last sheet of your safety plan as a guide for further development measures to maintain the safety of your child. And other things you can do to ensure the safety of your child from the potential danger is, well, you're pretty much doing it, but if it gets to where the abuse starts going towards the child, then you can always go back to court, get a restraining order on the behalf of your child, have visitation limited, or if the abuse leads to the child, you can also request that the visitation be stopped, because you know it's all about the safety of your child.
Yes.
And step 9 is if a situation comes up and you just need to get out, like right then and there, just leave the house. Some things you should have with you at all times is identification for you, your daughter's birth certificate, your birth certificate, social security card, money, your keys, your checkbook or your ATM card or your debit card, passports, any legal papers, and the rest of the stuff you can come back for, or medications. If you or your daughter have medications, the rest of the stuff you can come back for. And you have, I'm sure, you know, all the emergency numbers you need for you, like your sister's numbers, your work number, the school number for your daughter. And I was going to ask, along the lines of your daughter, is your sister's number programmed in her phone also?
All my emergency numbers, it's like copied over, duplicate over to her phone because they're all connected to mine. So we have a link called Family Link So I basically can see what she does, what's on there, and I can program contacts onto her phone through my phone. So anything that I have on my phone, I can put it onto her phone.
But all the things I told you, you should always keep on you, because I know you said you have your own car, and if you have to get out, like the middle console or the glove compartment is a perfect place to keep copies, because you don't have to try to search before you leave. You have it, and you can just get out of there and go where you need to go. I have it also in a plastic bag in my glove compartment, just in case.
I have my bag. I have a purse, and it's a kind of big purse, and so I'm able to walk around with all my legal documents and stuff. And if I do need to put it somewhere where I don't feel comfortable leaving it in the house, I do have this space that's, I have a charger, so my battery for my car is in my trunk. So there's a space, a wedge between the battery and where it lifts to get to the tire. So in between the tire and the battery, I can actually put my purse. It's a big enough space for that.
That is perfect. Okay, and now Moss will be coming up next to discuss with you, I think it's social media. Social media?
Yes.
Okay. I say, I'm doing this in, well, thank you very much, Miss Ophelia, for your time and letting me assist you with your plan. And now here's Miss Moss.
Hi, as mentioned, my name is Moss, and I will be helping you through the technology part of it. So it's pretty much in a checklist format. So I'll be providing some things that you can use potentially to feel safer with like social media and multiple devices, or if you, not your situation, it seems that you share devices, but you know, some people do. Which you do share devices with your daughter, like you were explaining just now, because it's connected. And so pretty much to begin, do you have or use any social media?
Yes. How do I explain it? I have Facebook, but I don't really post any personal things on Facebook, but I use the Messenger. So my primary reason for having a Facebook is to use the Messenger. So that's how I get into contact with friends and family, and you know, just other people that I keep in contact with.
Okay, good. It's good to just be aware about accounts you have, and it seems that you just mainly have Facebook. And again, not all things mentioned within like the checklist will necessarily pertain to you. But it's still something that's good to have a lot of information on, or just be aware of to have a better sense of security. So just let me know if anything that we go through is either something you do want to end up doing for your safety, or if you go and think that maybe you won't be using it. So it might feel a bit repetitive. I'll try my best not to make it super dry, but it is just a bunch of little tidbits that you could do to feel better. So first thing is the social media checklist part of it, which first thing on here is about checking your privacy and adjusting them to make sure that you hide your status, any like mobile uploads and pictures. And because you mentioned that you don't really use it for that, thankfully you're covered a bit on that. But still being sure that like your privacy settings are up, and just making sure your partner can't really keep tabs on you. Do you think that would be beneficial to do?
I already have in place, because like I also have Snapchat and Instagram. So my partner isn't on my Instagram, but he does, nor on my Facebook, but he does we do have each other on Snapchat. I don't really post on Snapchat either. Again, I just use it for private messaging. A lot of the social medias that I have are just for private messaging, except for Instagram. I do post photos, but like I mentioned, like he's not even on my Instagram. So my even if he were to try to look at it, or if he were to try to get like his friend to look into my social medias, everything's like friends only. You have no one has access to me. They would actually have to friend request me in order to gain access to my pages.
Which that's really good. A lot of these are touching on privacy settings being strict and everything. So it looks like we could jump through quite a few of these. But also making sure, I imagine you might disable like location settings that might be on those certain things.
I disabled the location for Facebook because I know that sometimes it'll automatically post your location, as well as Instagram, and especially with Snapchat, because I recently discovered that there's a ghost mode on Snapchat, so that hides my location from people. I didn't even know that it showed people my location. That was something that I just figured out.
Yeah, the Snapchat's sneaky. I also didn't know about the ghost mode. It's really good that you found that, because it's a little absurd having people know your exact location. And so let me see. Being protective of your personal information, and like it seems that you do keep everything close to you because you mainly use them for communication with friends and family and stuff like that. But it's always good to refresh that you should be protective of those things, like your phone number, your addresses, any personal details, which include like your birthday or the schools you attended. Is From what I'm telling, does that also mean that your Facebook is pretty much blank in regards to information, or does it still have like the basic things on there that they ask you?
It has my age, I guess, or like my birth date, but not my birth year. It doesn't have my location, like, because I know that you can put where you're from or where you were born and where you live currently. It doesn't have any of that. Like, it has places where I've never lived. So I keep track because I actually had to take kind of like a criminal justice class, and they touch point on personal safety and how it's easy to gain information, valuable information on someone just by their social media.
Yeah. And then another thing that even I was surprised to read about was also making sure to ask any close people, such as your sister, her husband, anyone that interacts with you, to, if by chance you guys take a picture together, or they like checking into places on Facebook or things like that, to also ask them to not post, a picture with you and tag you in it, or to do check-ins like that, just to ensure that, even though you're taking a good job at keeping yourself secure, it could hurt a lot if someone else that well-meaning is posting a picture of both of you also posts where you are. So that is something that you can do to feel more secure.
I have a question on that subject. I know Facebook gives us the option of, if someone were to tag us, we can actually hide our tag. It'll still post to their profile, but not onto mine. Would that still be like a risk if they post it onto theirs? Even if it doesn't show up on mine, they could look on to family member pages, because I don't know what her security profile, like the security situation on her profile is, if other people other than friends can view it. So how would I just, like what you said, would I just go and tell them, hey, don't post this, or at least don't post the location?
I certainly think that, as far as I remember, Facebook can be a little weird when it comes to, even though your personal settings are a certain thing, if someone else does have different settings, it's possible for people to like jump through hoops to get information. And so I do think it would be best to not get tagged at all, even though it's a little inconvenient and not fun. It's for the best of you and your daughter. And it's just a boundary that I can't imagine most people in your life would be against. It's just another thing to be sure that you're as safe as you can be.
I'm all about not having fun. It's fine.
And avoiding using like saved passwords is also a big thing, which you'll see. I have a few sections, and that is on every single one of them. So I won't go through all of them then, but just being sure that, like, you know how like iPhone particularly has like the keychain, and so it has all the passwords logged in if you wish for it to do that, so you don't have to constantly log in. Although it's convenient, it could mean that like if for some reason you logged in somewhere else, information could be gathered just by you accidentally logging in somewhere and having it saved there. So it's just a matter of like being aware of where you're logging in, and also being, you said you were privated on everything, which is really good.
Yes.
And yeah, you mentioned also being on only adding friends and just being aware of who's coming in and out. I think it's also a good measure to look into the people that you already have, even though it might not be that many people. I think it's important to kind of be aware of who's currently considered your friends, not to be wary of everyone in your life, but to just be aware that like abusers can find their way into convincing someone that might be close to you to try and like get information from them. So just keeping an eye and like being aware can help avoid that sort of issue from happening.
No, yeah, definitely. It sounds awful that I say it out loud. I have, it's basically spam accounts. Like I have people that I don't even know, people that I haven't talked to in years. Like it's just, I do a lot of shit posting. And I do apologize for the language, but it's basically my accounts. On the outside, they're just spam. But like I mentioned, I only technically use them for like messaging privately to people. So if and when I were to post something on my social medias that's serious or like a status, like worded status, people would know something is up, because I only post memes or like pictures of random things. I don't really, my social medias aren't about my life. So like it sounds pretty bad if I sound like a loner, but it's just I have built my life around being safe. And as I mentioned, like it's just subconsciously I do it. I never noticed that it was a defense mechanism. It's just, to me, that's normal. That's just been ingrained into my brain that that's normal.
And I mean, it's definitely something that doesn't have any negative consequences, especially with how secure it leads you to be. But I mean, I would imagine where you also post like memes and do things like that is also locked, or is that also open?
Like posting me, like if anyone else can have access to that. No, it's just friends only. Facebook, I have a two-way authentication kind of thing where if I forget my password, it actually links to the phone number, or they have to have specifics in order to get into my profile. I know that Snapchat just got that. All my emails have that, which is a really big pain. If I change my phone, I need my original phone to get in. So it's just, if I have to jump through hoops to get access to my things, so does everybody else.
That's good. It might be a pain at the moment, but it definitely does only allow you to have access to those things, which is really good. So now we'll be moving on to like the computer checklist, same format. So pretty much a lot of these actually might not pertain to you because of the fact that your partner doesn't live with you and your daughter currently. But like I said, again, some of these, you seem to be doing really well with security. And so similar with social media, like there's the recommendations that you change your passwords frequently. It doesn't have to be something you do, but it seems that instead of having to do that, you feel safe having the two-step authorization thing.
Yes.
Which is definitely...
I was trying to figure out what it was called. I said two-way, but I know what I meant.
Which is really good, and doesn't have you having to change all your passwords. And so, let me see. Your computer, I imagine, also has a password on it, as well as your smartphone on the lock screen,
Yes.
for all of your information, which, again, is basic things, but is really important when it comes to in case something were to happen and that gets either stolen by the abuser or just regardless. Repetitive passwords is also a thing to avoid. A lot of people do it, but it is something that ultimately means if someone figures out one thing, they can figure out everything else that you have. So that is something to try and avoid if you can. But again, you have the two-step authorization if that is a worry for you. Another big thing that I think is pretty good considering nowadays is if you would like, you could save important documents, messages, or pictures from your computer onto a USB and make sure that like everything is logged on there because although it is good to have copies of things in like specific areas, you never know if for some reason the abuser finds out where those are. And you can always have that USB that most wouldn't think to like throw that away as well, because USB can have so many other things in it.
I don't have USBs, but I do have everything linked up to a cloud. It kind of like the iPhones. I also have an iPhone like iCloud situation there where I have everything important backed up to that. This is how psychotic I am. I have about 2 different Gmails, 1 Hotmail, and like a Yahoo. So they all have cloud services now.
Mm-hmm.
I have everything backed up, like triple backed up. You know, you get the idea. In case anything were to go missing, I'm covered. And not to call myself out or make fun of it. I'm forgetful, and in a situation where I need to have things, I have photos of what I need. I have scanned documents, important documents, even like things that I don't really even need anymore. I have those in case one day that comes up, I'm gonna need it. You know, FBI knows how to track my stuff. Okay, so I'm good.
Which that's really commendable. Being so organized really isn't like a bad thing. It's really good to be that prepared, and this is just another sign of you doing things without realizing that they're something to keep you safe and secure. Which that's great. Another thing, especially a lot of these don't pertain, but just making sure that like websites that you visit aren't storing like cookies or things like that that could potentially give information. Smaller things like that might get overlooked, but it's still important. And also, if for some reason something were to happen to your computer, you do have the cloud and everything, so you could go to what would be considered a safe computer, which is like going to a local library, some sort of internet cafe, a shelter, or just a technology center, which could help avoid having that like trail of like things behind you of what you're researching in case you needed to leave in a really drastic situation, or just like looking up legal issues if you needed to do that. And I feel like with how good you are at like taking care of everything, you're aware of like private or incognito mode and how that could also help with taking care of things if you are trying to prevent someone from tracking that information. And then I think the last thing of this section before the email one is also looking to search yourself online just by your name or your phone number and seeing how many things show up. Because a lot of websites actually keep that information without us realizing, and it's actually a good thing to see if you can request for them to remove it, just because, especially with how good you are at making sure you're secure, it can be very bothersome when your information is still somehow out there without you realizing. So I feel like it would help you feel a bit safer to go through that, and also know for a fact that when you search up your name, as little information comes up for you. Let me see. So now we're going on to the email section. And then after that, it's the cell phone. These are a lot shorter than the ones that we just passed through. same kind of vibe. I do appreciate your cooperation throughout this so far. So let's move on to this one. We kind of touched up on email already, which, as we know, email can also be used to keep in touch with trusted people and family members. So thankfully, it seems that your partner doesn't have access to any of your emails, but as everything else, it is important to have that extra layer of safety, whether that be through some sort of encrypted email service or having the two-step thing that you have as well, and just being aware and making sure to check whenever there is some sort of, what is it called? When it shows that there's like weird activity, to also be aware of those things, just in case for some reason your partner is trying to get into your information to figure out more, or take control of your conversations if they connect to your social media and things like that. And you have the issue of opening something separate because it seems that all your emails were never connected to your partner, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yeah, they've never been connected to him. Like, I know his stuff, but he does not know mine.
Which is really good. And you have multiples, and like you said, you also had multiple copies of a bunch of other things. Let me see. And then it's also recommended that you don't use like old email accounts, which you have a few, so I wouldn't consider any of them like old, but anything that's been abandoned but still has like information is still recommended to get like cleared out, so that, again, if somehow your partner managed to get into it, that there's just nothing to find there. So last but not least, it's just over the cell phone checklist, which, first thing, it seems that your phone is safe to use. There's no connection with your partner in that. And you also have an emergency phone, which is really good. Like, that's great.
An accidental miracle.
And so, and then your daughter also has one. So you have like 2 backup plans on that, which is great. And I believe you're aware that if for some reason all 3 phones, something happened to them, it could also be safe to purchase a pay-as-you-go kind of phone to keep private calls on while you try to figure out getting like a new phone for you formally. And let me see, you are good with upkeep on passwords, so updating regularly isn't necessarily a thing you need to deal with. It's also, apparently, I didn't know about this, but it's good to know that, like, even if you don't have a super big reason to believe, if you suspect that maybe it's possible that your partner or someone in general got onto your phone and put spyware on it, you actually can go to a cell phone service center and have them check it out to make sure that there isn't anything on there. Because a lot of it goes unnoticed until obviously someone knows information that you didn't want them to know. Mm-hmm. And then just making sure that your phone also has location services or GPS and Bluetooth off, to double check and just feel safer in regards to things not being tagged, like we mentioned, Facebook being weird and posting it automatically sometimes, and just being sure to check all of your child's device and making sure, thankfully, what was the thing that you mentioned is on her device that allows you to like control it?
It's called Family Link. So I can turn off her phone, turn it on. I can see what apps are on there. I can actually share contacts through her phone with my phone. Basically, it's a security measure because of her age, but it also helps me because it limits how many people are on her phone. Like, if I don't want a certain contact on her phone, I can just erase it from my phone. If she is browsing, like, let's say, because she's not supposed to have access to to like TikTok or like Roblox on her phone, if let's say that she somehow her phone glitches and she's able to gain access to those things, I can actually go on my phone and be like, nope, not for you, and take it immediately off.
Which,
so it helps.
You do a really good job of keeping everything secure, not only for yourself and personal documents, but just for your child as well, which is really good. So that's actually the end of the technology plan, which leads me to ask if you would like to complete a child safety plan.
Yes.
Alrighty, then Jessica will actually take the reins from here and guide you through that. Great job getting through this with me. I appreciate you once again, and we'll be done very soon after this.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty. Hey there, Ophelia. So I do have a child safety plan here, and may I please have the name of your child?
Yes, Sarah, S-A-R-A, Ramirez.
I have your name here, Lorena Ramirez, and how about the name of the, on here, you're gonna see it and it says abusive parent and protective parent. So you are considered the protective parent and the abusive parent is the batterer or your partner. Would you like to put their name on here?
Brian.
And his last name?
Martinez.
And if any, what risks do you think are posed against your daughter?
My only concern is the manipulation. I know that he may be physical with me, but I know that he wouldn't be physical to her. But he does have his little way of manipulating this situation.
So some psychological abuse. And when do you feel she's most at risk?
I feel like when he has her like, because
like visitations.
Yes. And it frustrates me because it's just one of those things where she goes with him, comes back a different person. And I have to go through the steps of reprogramming.
That's very hard. So the next step of the child safety plan kind of goes over who she interacts with or who she has interacted with. On the list, we have things like police, the school, the church, neighbors, in the court system, if you've done anything like that, or even with your sister or any of the services. Let's see, the first one says police. Have you had any interaction with the police?
Yes, just one.
What steps were taken by them?
They had actually opened up or submitted a report, and then that went to CPS. CPS opened up a case, but then it was closed. I never got a letter from CPS to see what was determined, but it was against her father.
Okay, so then that would also be part of the services down here. So CPS was also involved. Do you feel like they responded well?
Yes and no, because I had well, there was, okay, so with the police interaction, when they spoke to my daughter, they didn't really speak to her. They just kind of looked at her, and then most of the questions were directed at me and what had happened, just explaining the situation. I guess because of her age, they just assumed that she wouldn't be able to answer the questions. Or I'm only assuming because they didn't really have any communication with her. They just said hi and they asked her name and She presented her name, and then they directed the questions at me. But with Child Protective Services, I had 2 caseworkers. I don't know why I had 2, so I can't explain that one. But they actually interacted with my daughter. Well, one of them interacted with my daughter, and I obviously was not allowed to be a part of that because they have to take the child aside and speak to her privately, so that way nothing can seem like a question or an answer was manipulated by the parent, which I completely agree with, and I was understandable about it. But there was one interaction with one caseworker where she didn't even speak to my daughter, but she went and told her father that I had submitted a report, and that I was afraid that he was going to get mad, and that she basically told him all this information that she was not supposed to tell him. And that made me very upset because she put me in danger. She put my situation at risk.
So with the police, something that you want change is that you wanted more interaction?
The police, yes, only because it's my daughter. She's very vocal. She understands what's going on. She may be 6 years old, but she doesn't have the mentality of a 6-year-old. She still has the childhood of a 6-year-old, but she understands more than people give her credit for.
So
and
allow
I
her
guess
to
that's
speak up.
Mhm.
And with CPS, the action would be she did not stay confidential.
Yes.
So you would like CPS to be more confidential.
Yes, because I honestly was not there for that interaction because that was with between the caseworker and her dad. And I wasn't going to put myself in that situation where I would be there with him to see what was going on. No. But that he immediately called me, reprimanded me, and then he tries to talk to my daughter and tell her that I'm a bad parent. And then he goes and tells his family that I'm a bad parent. You understand? Like it gives him more ammo, and that's what she failed to realize. And when I confronted the caseworker, by the way, and she told me that she didn't think that it would escalate, and that she tries to keep everything confidential. And I was like, no, you didn't, but that's fine. Lesson learned.
That's very good, because that's actually one of the steps here, to interact and to let them know what you needed and what you did not appreciate. So that one is going to be written on here. So that's very good. Would you like to think about a school or neighbors or sister?
That she's had interaction with?
Because this kind of helps you kind of take a look at how she's being protected in those systems, like at the school, if she's being protected, if she's with your sister, if she's being protected.
With my sister, I know that she would be protected. Because she has a unique dynamic in her household. She has her military ex-husband. She has her fiance who, is also, very overprotective of his kids, his stepkids, and of, his nieces and nephews. So I know that if she's over there with my sister, that she'd be very safe there.
No, so there's no steps there that you would take. It feels safe there. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Her
school? How about with the school?
I'm not, like, the school in itself has measures to protect students. Like, they have the electronic, I guess they're like what, metal detectors. Like, as soon as like you go into the school, they scan you. So they have that safety measure. So and then on top of that, they require documentation. You have to put in writing if someone else is going to go pick her up, or they have to show valid ID. And if there's a protective order or custody order, they require that information as well.
Okay, so no changes or anything there. You feel it's good.
Mhm.
Right. Do you attend church?
I do not.
And there's no interaction with the neighbors, so she shouldn't be over there. Anything with the courts?
I was to have a court case sometime this year, but I don't know what happened to that. And that was to talk about my case in general and how safe I feel with my daughter being around her father because of the situation of the CPS being involved for a certain situation. Because, well, not to delve into it, but it's just there was something that happened that wasn't supposed to happen. And therefore, I made a point to make sure I took the steps legally and have documentation of the way he responds to me, the way I try not to react in those situations. But depending on how bad it gets, I do respond in a not so kind manner. But I've taken those steps.
When will you be pursuing the court? Would you like to? Is there anything that you would want them to help protect the child?
I'm not trying to take away his visitation. What I'm trying to implement is supervision. If not by me, then by someone else.
So under the court, I'm going to say that not yet. There has not been any protective actions taken, but that you would like to have the visitation revisited. Would you like him stopped?
Like the visitations? No. I don't want him to stop being a dad. For one, he won't even allow. Okay, so I know this sounds really heartless. I have told him plenty of times to give up his rights, but only because it's not because of because of child support or anything like that. No, it is literally. It is so hard to co-parent with this person to the point where it's like if you are not going to budge and make me do all the parenting and you're only going to be a parent when you feel like it's necessary for you and then make it a big deal when you have to be a parent, then I don't see why you have to be a parent. Like he has 2 other children and he's literally told me that the only reason why he wants to not give up his rights is because he wants to leave a legacy. That's not a reason to have rights to a child. But that's besides the point. I just want supervised visits so that way I can control the environment that my daughter is in and what she's subjected to.
And there's no childcare?
No, because I work from home. She goes to school and I'm able to pick her up from the school bus and she's here with me.
And no extracurriculars?
Mm-mm. Like I'm with her like 24/7 if I'm not working.
Well, yeah, I think that you showed a lot of concern when it came to the visits. And I think that's something that would be very important for you to think about and pursue. So it's going to be here on the safety plan for Sarah. And I think that would be very important for you. The supervised visits, you can also, if you interact with police again, you can intervene and say, she can speak up for herself. Please allow her to speak up for herself. And then with CPS, you can also let them know that you want them to be more I'm sorry, the word escaped me, confidential.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how the safety plan works. It kind of helps you set up things for Sarah to make sure that you can address those things when they happen. So it'll be part of the plan there. Do you have any other questions or thoughts?
No, I mean, everything that we've gone through is pretty much solid, and all the questions that I had were answered thoroughly and effectively. So I have a really good idea and of what I can do in a situation, and if I get overwhelmed and things get drastic, I can refer to the safety plan.
That's very good. That's exactly what we're hoping for with the safety plan, and you'll get a copy of it, and that way you can refer to it, and you can also change it if you ever need for the future too. Well, from all of us, thank you so much for your time. It was perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.